Thanks for being here at 5. Most of us watched coverage of last week's devastating crash of a passenger jet and helicopter into the Potomac River in Washington. But did you know there was a crash of another passenger jet into Potomac in 1982?
Yeah, you're taking a look at it. And WAND's Doug Wolfe found out that the crash of the Air Florida jet 43 years ago involved a Mattoon man who was referred to as the unknown hero.
The icy waters of the Potomac River in Washington claimed the souls of nearly 70 people last week, but this was not the first time the river has seen a tragedy like this. In 1982, there was another crash into the Potomac by a jetliner, and it involved that man, Arland Williams Jr., and here's why.
I mean, that was the first thought that came into my mind, is this is almost exactly like the Arland D. Williams Jr. story.
Chris Serdick, a volunteer at the Mattoon Library Local History Center, reflects back to a wintry January day 43 years ago.
The plane had been delayed on takeoff for 45 minutes because of a severe snowstorm in Washington, D.C.
An Air Florida jet took off from what was then National Airport, stalled and struck a bridge, killing people on the bridge and plunging into the Potomac. Arland Williams, who grew up in Mattoon, was among a small number of survivors who now found themselves in the water.
And immediately there was a rescue helicopter that was hovering over the river dangling ropes.
Williams kept taking the rope, passing it off to the other 5 people in the water, each time giving up his chance to be saved until he was the only one left.
Well, by the time they had returned, the tail of the plane had also sunken under the Potomac, and it took him with him, and he never came back to the surface.
Who was the unknown hero? Originally, no one knew until nearly a year later it was determined to have been Williams. President Reagan, in a letter to his parents, praised his heroism.
No longer will Arland be referred to as the unknown hero of the Air Florida crash. He will take his place on the honor roll of America's foremost heroes.
A Citadel graduate, his Army uniform is on display at the Mattoon Library. This Mattoon Elementary School and a bridge in Washington have been named in his honor. In Mattoon, Doug Wolfe, WAND News.
Arland Williams' remains are interned at a Mattoon cemetery. At the time of his death, he was working as a bank examiner for the Federal Reserve.